Well, hi everybody. Yes, it's me here with a premiere. Surprise, surprise. I realized that I'm on the road to go see grandkids in Phoenix. And the first stop will be to see the grandkids in Eugene. And I'll arrive there about the time I normally would go live. And they're not going to want to share Grandma Goo with a live production. So, especially when I just about arrived there. So I thought I would pre-record this, set it as a premiere. I'll have a couple of those while I'm on the road here to Phoenix. I'll do one tonight, the night that I am arriving in Eugene, and then on the day that we arrive in Phoenix, that happens to be Lachlan's birthday too, so I'll switch to a premiere for that one, and I'll probably pre-record a couple others so to make sure, because I'm going to be babysitting the kids for a couple weeks, and I want to make sure that I can spend time with them but still spend time with you. So today I have something a little different. I found a book called, let me see, what is it called? It was called, oh, fiddle-dee-dee. Our Story Begins. And it is a book about different illustrators and authors and how they started out and what their first things were. And I thought it would be really fun to share a little bit about what these authors found in their closets and in boxes and stuff, and what was published in this book called Our Story Begins. Your favorite authors and illustrators share fun, inspiring, and occasionally ridiculous things they wrote and drew as kids. So that's what's going to happen with that. So the first person that I'm going to talk about is Dan Santat. And this is what he says in, and we have read a couple of his books. One was Drawn Together, and another one of his was that the Beagle? Yes, Beagle, B-E. And so anyway, he says, I remember seeing my first Norman Rockwell painting when I was 5. It was a picture of a snowy cottage in an issue of Time magazine. I was amazed by how detailed and realistic it looked, and it was at that moment right there that I concluded that this man was the greatest artist who ever lived. It was as if someone had created life with their hands. That evening, I set myself up in my usual drawing spot in front of the TV set, pulled out my markers and crayons, and tried to copy the picture as best I could. I love to draw, and I remember thinking that the whole town would be in awe of my artistic skills once I had replicated this masterpiece. News reporters would come from miles around to do a story on me with a headline reading, "Genius Child Paints Exactly Like Norman Rockwell." After an hour of drawing with my crayons, I became frustrated and started to cry. My dad laughed and said, Norman Rockwell painted for years. It takes years of practice and talent to be that good. The thought of not being able to draw something made me furious. I slowly flipped through the entire Norman Rockwell art book. Each painting taunted me as I stared longingly at its individual beauty. Each one whispered, "You will never be able to do this." The worst part was that the book concluded with an image of Norman Rockwell painting an exact portrait of himself. It was the ultimate slap in the face. But I noticed something else about that painting. Norman Rockwell was old. My 5-year-old judgment of age concluded that he was probably 1,000 years old. I remembered how earlier that evening my dad had mentioned that Norman Rockwell had painted for years to become that good. Norman Rockwell had 1,000 years of practice on me, and I was only 5. So I began to draw. I practiced every day, copying pictures from all sorts of cool comics like Peanuts and Garfield from the newspapers and the Smurfs and Flintstones from the cartoons, and I quickly improved after each drawing. I could feel my powers growing, and news of my ability to draw spread quickly around the school. It wasn't the whole town, but it was a start. "Could you draw me a Pegasus?" a kid would ask. "Can you draw a knight fighting a dragon?" another asked. I would fill their requests for a quarter. But I also drew their pictures just so I would know that I was capable of making whatever it was that a person wanted. I hated knowing that I couldn't draw something. As I grew older, I gave myself tougher challenges in high school. I copied pictures of Spider-Man, the Incredible Hulk, and the X-Men. I wanted to figure out how muscles and bones worked. So I checked out books on how to draw and slowly increased my knowledge. No one pushed me to draw. I wanted to improve on my own. I was passionate about art. Oh, I forgot to show you guys something. There's a picture of him right here. That's Dan Santat as a little kid. Okay? That's his 5-year-old picture. This is by Dan Santat, age 7. Years later, in college, I was taking a biology class and studying the human cell. My friend looked over at my notes and was astonished at the detailed drawing of the cell that I had drawn in my notebook. "Dude, that's the most amazing Golgi apparatus I've ever seen." I smiled. "Why are you even here? Why aren't you in art school?" my friend asked. "My parents want me to be a doctor," I replied. "But you stink at biology, and it's totally obvious you love to draw." There's another image they did by Dan Santat, age 10. His comment made me think long and hard. Was I making a mistake by not doing art for a living? Suddenly, I saw an image from the corner of my eye, and it was as if fate had struck me square in the face. On the cover of one of our biology handouts was a Xeroxed image of a doctor taking care of a little girl's doll, painted by none other than that 1,000-year-old man, Norman Rockwell. He was still mocking me. "After all these years, you'll never be able to do this." So I applied to art school, and now I make books for children. 35 years after seeing my first Norman Rockwell painting, I still can't paint as well as the man, but I know I still have another 960 years to go. Dan Santat is the author and illustrator of books for children. He is the 2015 Caldecott medalist for The Adventures of Beagle, which I read to you guys, The Unimaginary Friend, and won a silver medal in illustration from the Society of Illustrators for Oh No, or How My Science Project Destroyed the World, written by Mac Bennett. He's also the creator of the Disney animated series, The Replacements. Visit him at dantat.com. Pretty cool, huh? Yeah, it's great. So, with that being said about Dan Santat, I thought I would tie it in with a little bit of Africa and animals with a book that he illustrated called Carnivores. It's by Aaron Reynolds, and it's pretty funny. I thought it was a good one to share with you guys. So here we go with the story for tonight. Carnivores. Written by Aaron Reynolds and illustrated by Dan Santat. There you go. The carnivore food pyramid. I love that image. Carnivores, written by Aaron Reynolds, illustrated by Dan Santat. It was written in 2013. Illustrations in this book were rendered in mixed media. Let's see if I can get it. Is that the big picture for you? No. Yeah, I had it right the first time. Let me get it back to you, the big one. There we go. The lion is known throughout the animal kingdom as the king of beasts. The great white shark is the most feared predator in the oceans. And the timber wolf's howl strikes terror in the hearts of fuzzy woodland creatures everywhere. That wasn't a very good howl. Oh, that's better. But even savage carnivores get their feelings hurt. The lion tries to ignore it when the gazelles whisper behind his back. He pretends not to see the zebras looking down their noses at him. And the wildebeests call him Bad Kitty, just because he's eaten half the neighborhood. It hurts. It really does. And the great white shark, he gets such a bad rap. All those shark movies don't help. Everyone talks about his feeding frenzies, but he's simply a fast eater. Nobody understands. And the timber wolf almost never eats little girls. That Little Red Riding Hood story is very misleading. The bunny rabbits always say, "Quit sneaking up on me." But he's not sneaking. He's merely a very quiet walker with vicious fangs and scary eyes. He can't help it. So it was just a matter of time before the lion, the great white shark, and the timber wolf started hanging out, because even carnivores need to share their feelings. At their first get-together, the timber wolf came up with an idea that might solve everything. "We'll go vegetarian." The lion tried to enjoy his salad, but leaves and bark kept getting stuck in his razor-sharp teeth. And the great white shark ate nothing but seaweed for a whole day, but it left a terrible kelpy taste in his mouth. And the timber wolf, well, tried his hardest to eat only berries. But every single berry bush seemed to have a bunny inside. They realized that becoming vegetarians was a silly idea in the first place. So, the disguise plan. Before long, the great white shark came up with a fabulous new idea. "New outfits! We'll blend right in." At first, the lion's antelope disguise worked out terrific. Everyone treated him so nicely. But when the other antelopes smelled his zebra breath, it was all over. The great white shark blended right in with the dolphins. Nobody suspected him of being bloodthirsty at all, until all the dolphins disappeared. And the timber wolf, he kept drooling on all the other bunnies. The disguise idea was a dud, which was very frustrating, which made them all hungrier than ever. As a last resort, the lion invited the oldest and wisest carnivore he knew to come speak to the group. The great horned owl was happy to be included. "What should we do?" asked the lion. Everyone is mean to us, said the great white shark. I never know what to say, said the timber wolf. The owl smiled. It used to hurt my feelings too, but now I remind myself, I am not bad. I'm a carnivore. Eating meat is just what I do. I'm not bad, whispered the lion. I'm a carnivore, confessed the great white shark. Eating meat is just what I do, declared the timber wolf. The wise old owl was brilliant. Turned out he was also delicious. These days, things are different. The lion doesn't dread going to the watering hole anymore. When the zebras give him nasty looks, he smiles his friendliest smiles, then eats them. The great white shark feels much better about gobbling up everybody in sight. He knows that he's a husky fish with a healthy appetite. And when the timber wolf gets the munchies, he doesn't think twice about grabbing a handful of bunnies. They have really negative attitudes anyway. After all, they're not bad. They're carnivores. Eating meat is just what they do. A carnivore food pyramid. Aaron Reynolds has written many great books for kids, including Creepy Carrots, which we read, Chicks in Salsa, or have I read Creepy Carrots? I might be saving Creepy Carrots for Halloween. Or did I read? Who knows? Chicks in Salsa, Back of the Bus, and the Joey Fly Private Eye graphic novel series. Although Aaron spent 6 years as a vegetarian, he is now committed carnivore. Among many other meats, he's eaten emu, ostrich, alligator, kangaroo, buffalo, and octopus. Aaron has never eaten a wise old owl, but imagines it tastes just like chicken. He lives in Chicago. And there it talks a little bit more about Dan Santat. So that was the book I wanted to bring you tonight. With little bits of the artists. I think I'm going to find some more of the artists from this one book that talk about their childhood and do this for these premieres. Kind of fun way to see what they do, the artists and the illustrators, the authors too. And Dan Santat's books are hilarious, and I'm sure there'll be lots more in this book that will tell us more about what happens when, what is it? Here, I'll show you the book. Our Story Begins. Yeah, so we'll see where that takes us. Anyway, you guys, thanks for being here. That was my story for tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. A little bit crazy, but that's okay. And I'm off playing with McLean and Rook and Rory. And I'm sure I'm going to read them a few stories, but I wanted to make sure I got in here and read one for you. So until next time, everyone, keep looking for the beauty hidden in plain sight. It is all around you. You know where to look first is in your mirror. And I will catch you for the next show tomorrow. Hopefully it'll be live. I'll be on the road, but I should be in a spot where I can go live from and won't need to record a premiere. Anyway, I'll see you soon, and take care. And keep sharing your own story too.
We could be shameless.